Everyone, welcome to episode 2 of Cardboard Cynics, or as I like to call it, Eat It, Pete from SGC. Wherever you are, 2 episodes. That's how it's done. That's twice as many. It's very exciting. That's something to be cheerful. That's a bonus one. I'm not even counting that as part of the original one. Dan, we've already surpassed the output of SGC podcasts by 100%.
I feel like it's a day to celebrate. It's an achievement, and I truly, especially when it comes to SGC and numbers, which we'll talk about later. I feel like we have had an achievement here. So congratulations, sir.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we talked about in the first episode, we did the introduction. One thing I'll make note of right now, I'll kind of emphasize it. So if you check out links in the description, I'm going to include links to various videos, articles where applicable. So if you reference something, I'm going to start including that in. Dan and I were getting ourselves organized. First episode was just kind of figuring things out, feeling out. By the way, it's still a work in progress. We'll still take feedback happily. If you've got any thoughts or comments on it, you're more than welcome to give it. We'll take it into account. But the other thing also that I want to include is if you have any questions, we'll probably incorporate that into a segment if it's applicable. I'll start being a little bit more aggressive and reaching out because I do think it's helpful. And I think that we can probably bring some stuff to the table. And by the way, if we don't know the answer, we're happy to ask people who know. We know a couple of folks, so we can always get answers to the question. So don't hesitate to ask a question because we can probably figure it out one way or the other. And then the other thing I'll include is on my channel currently, I've created a playlist for this. And the playlist will allow you then to be able to see it. So regardless of whether it's on my channel or on Dan's channel, the playlist will include all the episodes. So you'll have that on there. Otherwise, it's going to go back and forth between our channels. So every couple of weeks or so, or whatever cadence kind of works out, we're shooting for every couple of weeks. We'll see how the scheduling works out. We'll shoot back and forth. So this one is on this channel. Episode 1 is on Dan's channel. Episode 3 will be back on Dan's channel. And we'll kind of bounce back and forth. And that's how we'll approach this thing. Plus, we have the ringing endorsement of Matt from Providence. So right now, that is the wind beneath our wings. It is carrying us to success.
There were comments in the really, really good comments. The engagement was terrific, but there were 3 comments I want to talk about. One, I believe it was Keith from Lonely Basement who said that this is the best new show on YouTube. So I fully endorse that. Those are facts. Number 2 was the one who said that we are the 2 most intelligent people on YouTube, and also endorse, fully agree, facts.
And I counter with low bar, but thank you. I counter with low bar, but thank you. Thank you. We'll accept it.
And then the third one was from this guy from, I think he's from Massachusetts. Eric, I think his name is, saying that this was not going to be good for him. And I said, dude, in your one moment of clarity, you are correct. So not necessarily going to be good for Eric. But I don't know, was it Eric or was it Coach Dave? Was it the imposter or was it the real Eric who posted that? I don't know if we will ever know.
I'm not convinced that Eric knows at this point where Eric ends and where Coach Dave begins. I don't think he knows. It's one of those things. And like I said, we have the ring endorsement of Matt from Providence. So right now we're off to a ringing start. Fantastic. Fabulous. So thank you all for the feedback on the first episode. So give you kind of the format here. Just we're going to follow a very similar one this time around. Again, we'll tweak it as time goes on. But for now, what we'll stick with is, generally speaking, we've got 3 reasons to be cynical, 3 reasons to be cheerful. Sometimes that'll modify depending on the episode, but this time around, I think we hit that mark specifically. So I've got a few, and Dan's got his set as well. So what I'll do is, Dan, why don't I start with you? Why don't you tell me your first reason to be cynical?
Since I'm the visiting team, I will take it this week. So, I don't know, about a year ago, somebody said to me, you should sign up for this new hobby, I don't know, website, community, whatever it's called Mantel, Mantel. So my first inclination was, why the stupid name? My second inclination was, I trust this person, so I'm going to go, I sign up, and I'm looking at it, and I'm wondering, like, what is this? What's the point of this? And then, I don't know, I didn't pay any attention. I signed up, didn't pay any attention to it. When I got the emails, I unsubscribed. So I sort of haven't really paid any attention to Mantel now for, I guess, about a year, because I think it was last January when I signed up. And then something has come up recently where they came up with this new sort of pricing regimen, this new sort of way to approach going into shows and getting the best price for you. And it's called their Slam. And, immediately became cynical about it, because any new attempts to try to figure out what, how to price cards is always going to be, it's always going to be kind of a, just they're making it up. And so I went back and I researched Mantel, and I went back to Slam is it's shorthand for the secondary liquidity and momentum score. So Slam, secondary liquidity and momentum. So that is where your slam is. But it's just another way to say, liquid cards sell for more. Yeah, okay, we knew that. But then I went back and looked at Mantel and discovered what this thing really was. And it's basically a way for a bunch of moneyed people to perform a complete cashectomy on newbies in the hobby. In other words, it's a way to separate newbies from their money. It was created by people from Reddit. The guy who's the producer of King of Collectibles. Remember, we spoke about Ken last week. Noted investors are Steve Aoki, Gary Vaynerchuk, good old Gary V, basketball star Candace Parker, and Adam Hansman, the founder of The Athletic. So this is Mantle. It's moneyed people trying to use the hobby in a cynical, grifting kind of way to separate newbies from their money. And so I sort of started this reason to be cynical just on the slam thing, but I think we can basically take down and say that Mantle itself is a reason to be cynical, and slam is just another like gimmick by which they're probably going to attempt to create some sort of pricing app on this or whatever. And just my advice to people, and most of the people watching this show are not newbies, and if you are, welcome aboard. But just stay away from these kind of gimmicks, these kind of people who are in the hobby to separate you from your money. They're not true collectors. They're not people who are interested in promoting the hobby other than how it can line their pocketbook. So that's my reason to be cynical. Mantle and slam.
Well, look, Dan, I hear what you're saying, but I got to be honest with you. When we're talking about Mantle, and here's where I can provide a little more background, because I am quite familiar with the Mantel, not Mickey, Mantel. But the thing is, how can you question the credentials? How can you question the credibility? How can you question the ethics and the thought process behind the same people, Dan, that bring us the Hobby Awards by Mantle? You don't understand. They have Hobby Awards and best custom card art, best breaking platform, best hobby shop. Now, Dan, I got to tell you, if that's not good enough for you, like right there, that instant credibility, if you have an awards, as you know, I am passionate and love Hall of Fames, awards, and things that are randomly given on the internet. Big fan, by the way, at the very end. I did say, and I was correct, by the way, that it didn't happen before this episode is recorded. We'll talk about a YouTube
you were right.
thing. Yeah, that'll be right at the end. So stick around till the very end, because I want to make sure we have some thoughts on that. But the point that I want to make is, listen, Dan, I guarantee you right now, we're talking about an awards. And by the way, they already did the awards. They did the voting and everything. How can I question? Slam must obviously be brilliant, because these are the people that brought you the voting that resulted in the best media platform being Sports Card Investor. Louis Taint for the win, Dan. Louis Taint.
let me just say, I forgot to bring this up, but you did, and I probably should have figured you would.
Oh,
in the law, I'm a lawyer. I've mentioned this before. In the law practice, there are awards that these magazines come out. It's like Litigator of the Year, and these are like the top the top this, the top that. It's all complete BS, because it's people who you buy the award. This is essentially what happens. You buy the award, and then you get your name and your picture in the magazine. So these are all extraordinarily fake things that I'm thinking to myself as I was thinking about these awards, while I was thinking about what I was going to say about Mantle. And I'm glad you brought it up, because I forgot to. Was that, were those awards actually voted on, or were they just a way for somebody to pay money to Mantle? Don't know. Wouldn't be surprised if they were.
Yeah, look, I'm just saying. Like, I feel like I've established their credibility by showing exactly what was on there. Like, best media platform seems obvious to me. Seems about right. Like, who am I to question?
Who can you put that up again? Because who are the other nominees were Collect, who's had not a very good run of journalistic integrity in the last 6 months, let's say.
Yeah, here I'll zoom in on it and I can kind of show it again here. But yeah, they had this whole little awards thing, and they had a website where you could technically vote on it. So you got Sports Card Investors, you got Geoff at the top, Collect, which has had his run questions. Prospects Live, I'm not even familiar with. I haven't heard of them.
I don't
Sports
even know
Card
what that is.
Nonsense was lobbying hard for this. On their podcast, they were talking about this, and they were claiming it was illegitimate if they didn't win. Again, Sports Card Nonsense, I got some issues with some of their coverage too. Trove, I don't even know about. I'm not actually familiar with Trove, and believe me, I've heard of a lot of things in the hobby. And again, it's like we have these on the list. I'm sure they exist. I just haven't heard of them at all whatsoever. And I spent a lot of time on hobby social media. So as a best media platform, it must be really good if I've never heard of you and have no idea who the hell you are. And I try my best to be tapped in. I do my best.
That's pretty good evidence of what I just said. If it's like something that no one's ever heard of, was there like a admission fee to get into the nominations? Possibly. Let's see.
Well, look, Dan, in the
I'm going to
example
mute
you
myself
gave,
for a second because I'm still suffering from a little bit of a cold. I don't want to blow my nose into my microphone. So
go ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead. So all I was going to say is, while Dan is taking care of that, is my thought was when Dan gave that example about the legal version of this, is I was thinking, Dan, what do we need to do? Can we get a
Oop,
collection plate together?
okay.
What can we do to get you the award for best objection? But I don't want best lawyer. I don't want anything. No, I want something really niche. I want best objection of the year. That's what I want. Really narrow the scope down. That's what I think would be fun.
I've had some good ones. So
I'm just
we
saying,
can talk about
we get you nominated for best objection, and you can have the award and give the acceptance speech. I think that's a winner right there. I think that everybody would love that. All right. So what I'll do now is I'll move on to my first reason, and I'll kind of play into it. And that little segment and kind of the discussion of it kind of plays into what I was talking about. I talked about this on the Friday Live, so I already kind of laid the groundwork a little bit. But let me talk about it. I'll expand and kind of explain what I'm talking about here. I just call it content lull. And I want to be clear. Let me do the preface before everybody gets hurt, their feelings hurt. I wouldn't want to do such a thing. As a man of peace, I would never even dream of it. But let me make sure I lay the groundwork first. This is as a viewer perspective. I'm looking at it as a viewer. And by the way, if you love some of these channels or some of these formats, there is zero wrong with that. It goes back to the conversation from the first episode. Hobby however you want to hobby. Get the cards you want to get. Get them in whatever condition you want to get. Get whatever eye appeal you want to get. You want to collect modern, do it. You want to collect vintage, do it. You want to collect Pokemon, do it. I am 100% in favor of you doing whatever it is you want that makes you happy. As long as you enjoy it, great. I co-sign on that. By all means, have fun. Have a good time. Scroll Trove and let us know what news they bring to us, because I don't know. So let us know. Let us know in the comments. The point is, so with that context given, so hopefully I've kind of covered my bases here. My point was that right now we are, as a consistent viewer, as much content as I make, and Lord knows the Friday Live is long. That's many hours of content. But as much as I make, I also consume a ton. A ton. I don't really watch television. I don't really watch a lot of movies anymore because honestly, they don't interest me. I have a movie collection and everything. If I want to, I can, and I've still got lots of unwatched movies that are sitting there. And at some point I can unwrap them and check them out. I was telling Dan that I've been enjoying a lot of Bar Rescue recently. That'll come up again here in a couple of minutes. But the point is, I've got enough on my plate to be entertained. And when I look at the YouTube app, you would be horrified if you understood how many hours of YouTube I watch in a week. Like I watch it. It is my TV, which is to say that I get a chance to watch quite a bit of stuff. And I do watch a lot of hobby content. But what I've noticed is that right now, a lot of us, and I don't count myself amongst them, I try my best to break out of it with little things here and there where I can. We're kind of settling into established formats. So regular segments, series, there's not a lot of variation. Even the stuff where people are doing it, it's like, even the podcasts and everything. People enjoyed the first episode. We're trying to bring something a little different to the table. But you can only do so much. But we try at least to bring a little twist into it where we can, because that's all you can do. Try to bring a twist. But I feel like a lot of the stuff right now isn't even trying to bring the twist. It's like, it'll be an interview, a collector conversation, or, hey, let's go through. And by the way, this isn't a criticism. If you guys are enjoying it, you enjoy making it, you enjoy watching it, please do so with my blessing. Be on your way. But the thing is, I can watch one, and once I've watched one, I've seen them all. Because there's only so many versions of, we've got 4 people on the screen. We've got, okay, so everybody show a card with Mickey Mantle. Okay, we did that. Everybody show a card with somebody you hope wins the Super Bowl for potentially personal reasons. I'm not saying I want to sell it, but I'm just saying, go Hawks. Let's go. uh, but you get the point. The point is, and there's nothing wrong with it. And I know people enjoy seeing the cards. Again, I like to make fun of the whole concept of constantly showing cards. I kind of go the opposite most of the time. So when we do, it's more of a surprise. It's kind of a pleasant surprise. But if you enjoy that, that's great. But after a while, it's like, well, if every episode is like that, where's the variety? You know, it doesn't matter how good the meal is, even if you really like it. There's no variety. There's no spice. Now, one of my ones later on for cheerful, I'm actually going to talk about the contrast of that. I'm going to talk about the other side of it, where I am seeing some folks at least try to give a little something different, and I appreciate it even more, Dan, when I do kind of start seeing same. So that's one thing. Kind of playing the same thing as the second thing, the AI thumbnails. Now, to be clear, on my podcast, I played around with an AI thumbnail a little bit. I tried to play around with it a little bit though, because for me it was more of a challenge. I was kind of curious, and what I did, I'll just quickly explain what I did. I used ChatGPT for the thumbnail. A lot of people have been doing that. And the way I can tell is that I'm seeing the same fonts, the same colors, the same general kind of concept I'm seeing, and I can literally scroll. And when it's that same, I can't tell which YouTube channel it's for. It's to the point where I'll scroll and I'll be like, the font looks the same, the concept looks the same, and like it doesn't matter what prompt you're putting in. ChatGPT has a certain kind of format that it kind of sticks with, and it's pretty consistent. Like once you see it, you can kind of tell the telltale signs that yeah, that's where it came from. And to be clear, as a guy who plays with a lot of technology, Dan, I like playing with technology. It's fun for me. It's something I enjoy, and I'm passionate about it. I've always been passionate about it. So I'm not going to criticize somebody for playing around with the tech. What I tried to do is I actually utilized a different kind of AI tool. One of the ones that's out there, and I'll just give it to you guys so you're familiar with it. I don't know if people can look it up. It's called Claude. And what it's actually kind of interesting for is it's actually kind of interesting in analyzing content. You can actually take like YouTube videos and transcripts and things and have it kind of summarize it for you. You can have it break it down. You can have it come up with ideas for different things. It's actually quite a robust tool, and they've been building it up quite a bit. The reason I'm bringing this up, what I did is I actually gave it a prompt because of what I wanted it to do. The prompt is basically what you type in to make it do whatever you're asking it to do. So regardless of the tool, you put in the prompt. The more detailed and more clear the prompt is, the more specific things will be, the more clear the direction will be that you take it. So what I did is I asked Claude to build me a prompt to create the thumbnail. I gave it the description, the explanation of what I wanted, and I had Claude build the prompt that I gave to ChatGPT. So I took that extra step. And by doing that, it really it built a multi-page prompt, like way more detailed than I would have thought to do on my own. It actually built out a whole thing kind of based on my specification. I made a few minor tweaks. And on my last podcast episode, there's actually 2 versions of the thumbnail. So I'm having it do some A/B testing. I'm going to do the same thing, by the way, in the next week's episode. I'm going to actually create both thumbnails. The one with the template that I created in Canva that I've got, it's very basic and straightforward. And then I'm also going to try the other one. And I'm going to be curious if people do respond to it. I'm doing it as an experiment. I want to see. But I left a spot for the episode number and the title, and I also made sure that my logo was put in the corner because, again, with the other ones, none of them look different. It's literally like title, then stuff going around in the background, and but nothing changes. If you write it out and it looks, this is the thumbnail you get. If I do it, this is the thumbnail you get. If so and so does it, it's the same thumbnail. So if you all look the same, how can I tell whose channel is which without actually clicking on it? And this is what I'm saying about low. It's almost like we found the shortcuts. We're starting to take the shortcuts, and I'm not telling everybody to rebuild. I'm not telling everybody to rebuild everything from scratch. That's not fair, by the way. And by the way, for most of us, this is not our job. So I'm not telling people, oh my God, you must spend hours. No, I'm not telling you that. But I'm saying we've kind of fallen into a bit of a rut, kind of from a content perspective.
So, counterpoint, we're creatures of habit.
Mm-hmm.
People like comfortableness. People like their comfy chair. They like their, they like their routines.
Do I bring back the We Fear Change meme? Because I can do it.
So there's some of that in it. There's also some of that you get a successful formula, you stick with it. Some channels say, this is my Monday video. This is my Friday video. And hey, I'm sitting across. You're over there. You're over there. So, you got it right. Somebody who
got it right.
For 1,900 consecutive Fridays has been doing the live,
The math checks out. Just trust us on this. The math checks out.
But, yes, put a little more work into it. The AI thumbnails, speaking as the person who probably would win the award for worst thumbnails on YouTube, I can say that I will never use an AI thumbnail because I just think they look stupid and artificial and just fake. But that being said, if you put enough work into it, like your sort of two-prong approach and detailed approach, your AI thumbnail was actually pretty good. But that took a lot of work, and people
Mhm.
aren't necessarily willing to put that kind of work into putting together just a thumbnail. I mean, I dread having to do a thumbnail for my videos. The video part is easy for me. The research part is fun. The video is easy. The thumbnails are difficult because I'm bad at it.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I mean, is there a lull? Yes. I said this on Friday night. People may take this the wrong way. They probably should take it the wrong way. Uh, that I think there's a lull in on camera talent, and I think that most the big sort of bell curve of talent is sort of, we've moved on from that, and in recent years there've been some fantastic new channels, but there have been a lot of channels that there really isn't much new happening. And so, and the third point is that there's always a struggle to come up with new content, and I know this myself because I have that struggle. And I repeat myself. I show cards that I've shown before. I tried to do different cards. When I came in, I started to do, my idea was to do interviews with collectors of certain teams or players or sets from people who you didn't normally see. So I had a
Mhm.
lot of people from that I knew from Twitter, that I knew from my Reddit, that I knew from like my vintage card groups, or guys that I met at shows or whatever. People that weren't they were the YouTube regulars. They were new faces, but I've run out of those people. So at some point you run out of ideas for content, and you kind of have to repeat yourself. And is that lull? I mean, is there a way to get around it? I guess we'll find out in your cheerful section. So
Mhm.
those are my
Yeah,
thoughts.
absolutely. Yeah, and just to put a button on this again, at the end of the day, like, do whatever you need to do. If you have a certain amount, if you only have a limited amount of time, I'm not sitting here beating you up on that because I understand. There's a lot of times where a lot of videos I've made in the past, I do the shared screen kind of voiceover thing, and it's just from a time perspective. There's only so much time I'm willing to put into this. If the money was better, Dan, if the check clears and somebody wants to pay for it, I'm willing to put in that extra effort into that one.
Yeah,
So again, I'm just as guilty of this as anybody. So I will be happy to lead the, hey, I get it. And if you don't have any other ideas, well, then yeah, fine. Just do the same thing over and over. But it is tough as a viewer. Then it is kind of tough, and it'll play into one of the other kind of. It'll actually play into the cheerful thing. It'll come back into play on that one. But again, I
yeah,
would love to see folks, try to sit there, do the little whiteboard thing. I would love to see some concepts. I would love to see some people try some ideas, even if it doesn't work. Sometimes it's fun to try. Give it a go and see how it happens. It's okay to experiment a little, because again, most of these YouTube channels, we shouldn't be taking them that seriously anyway. It's nice to have,
yeah,
if you've already got a format. By the way, if you want just an excuse to hang out with your buddies and talk cards, I'm not going to criticize that. I'm offering zero criticism. If that's what
yeah.
you want to do and that's what you're doing, well then have at it, man. Do it. Do it as much as you, or as
Well,
little as you want to.
thank you, because I do a lot of
Yes.
that. On
Yes.
I do a lot of that not on my own channel, but on For Collectors, and I enjoy it. In fact, I just spent a long time yesterday doing a two-parter with two other excellent collectors that I enjoy spending time with, and it was just a chat of buddies talking about cards and stuff. So nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I always want to leave with that final point though, because somebody's going to be like, do it. If that's what you want to do, then just do it. I'm
Yeah,
just saying I would love, as a general request, as a viewer, I'm just like, I would love to see some stuff tried, just because it would add a little variety. A little variety is the spice of life. It's nice to have it in the content as well. So why did you tell me? First reason to be cheerful then.
oh, we going cheerful, or are we doing the three cynicals?
You know what? I'll go with your second cynical. Let's actually stick with that and we'll come back to the cheerful. Go ahead.
Okay. So second cynical, I defer to a Canadian on this. It's not you. It's not Jeremy Lee. It's Simon.
There are at least
Simon
three of them.
is a friend of yours, I believe,
Mhm.
and I know he's been on your channel. I know you did a show with him, not probably in 2025.
Mhm.
Really smart channel, really intelligent gentleman who his content is valuable, and I think he is one of those examples of somebody who is not like what you just said. He doesn't do the same thing all over all the time, but he had a video this week, and it sort of plays into what one of my first reason to be cheerful last week was that SGC is not dead yet. And I talked about a little bit about how they're, second in total vintage numbers. But Simon, after that, and I'm not going to take a victory lap here, but after that, PSA came out with a I guess a podcast
Yeah,
where
it was the
Ryan
PSA
Hoge,
podcast. It was the PSA podcast.
yeah,
Yeah.
talked about how they're going to be retooling SGC, and I was like, hey, they're not dead yet. Hey, I'm great. I'm really a good predictor. No. Then he started lying about the numbers, and that to me, and I didn't know this at the time. I hadn't actually watched that podcast. I've only watched the portions of that podcast that have been on multiple other people's analysis of it. And I
Mm-hmm.
think Simon's was the best because Simon's was the one that had the numbers. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
just thoughts and opinions; it was facts. And the reality is that SGC is grading fewer vintage cards. They're not just grading far fewer cards. Period, which is striking the numbers there, but they're actually grading fewer vintage cards than they were 6 months ago or 8 months ago. And that is
Mm-hmm.
concerning to somebody who, like me, relies on SGC to grade my vintage cards and to
Mm-hmm.
continue to exist and do the right and do accurate work and move the cards faster and all that kind of stuff. But so I would say that's about all I'm going to say on it, except to say that, and I'm sure you will link to it and even put the video in the what do you call it?
In the description.
What do we?
In the description.
No, in the not the description, but you're putting together a little folder with all of these videos in them, right?
Oh yeah.
What'd you call it?
Well, so the playlist is for this podcast
Playlist.
specifically.
That's
The
the word I'm
playlist is
looking for.
specifically for this podcast. But what I will
Right.
do is, as Dan is explaining it, I'm putting the thumbnail on the screen. So editing Carlos will handle that. So I'll put the thumbnail on the screen so that you know exactly which one it is. I will link it in the description so that you can go straight to it and check it out for yourself and hear exactly what he was talking about. So we'll make sure that you have access to it so you can check out the video. And I would recommend it. And if you're interested in that type of video, you can subscribe to Simon's channel. We'll give him a free plug and see if we can get his subscriber count bumped up a little bit.
Yeah, and the video's not long. It's only like 11 minutes long,
Yeah.
which if, like me, you watch everything at 1.5, comes out to about 7 minutes.
Mhm.
So I would recommend seriously going and watching that because it does tell you the truth. And my reason to be cynical, number 2, is that PSA is still lying to us, even though SGC is not dead yet. They're lying to us about it. So there we go.
Now I'm gonna have some fun with this one because what I'm going to do first, I'm going to double down on your cynicism, and I'm going to be even more cynical. I'm actually going to add a layer of cynicism to your cynicism. It's going to be fun, but then I'll also play devil's advocate. So I'm going to do a little bit of both. It's going to be fun for me. So first, let me start with. I actually think I watched the video and listened to it as well, and I always commend Simon because he's very detail oriented and he likes to put together the slideshow and he put the data and put it into charts so that you can actually kind of visually see it. It actually is helpful for some folks to see the visual of the numbers themselves. And he did the analysis, which great job by him. So kudos. One thing I'll add is that included in that information, I think he went and broke it down specifically by the different components of it. One thing I would have added, so just as a tip for me or a thought that I would throw in there, I consider 1980 and before to be vintage, so I would have included that as well because to me he went 70 and before, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It covers pre-war, it covers the 50s, it covers all that. So regardless, though, I think his numbers are sound. So I agree with the analysis. I think the numbers and the analysis, I'm on board. I have no notes on that. The only thing that I would throw in there is that when it comes to the conclusions, though, that's where we have to kind of think about it. So I'm going to double down on the cynicism, but then I'm also going to kind of play into this. So first about the doubling down on cynicism. Yes, Ryan Hogue is misleading about that. Now, I will say, little devil's advocate, and then I'll come back to the cynicism. Ryan Hogue is the president of PSA and kind of the grading division. The reality is, and I won't speak to, as a lawyer, I think you may have encountered this, but I'll speak to it as somebody who has operated in the corporate environment. Most of our leaders, Dan, only know whatever the data is that they're fed. So the conclusions are drawn by the data team. But so that's kind of something to bear in mind. Hogue is kind of regurgitating, he's not the one actually looking at the numbers. I would pretty much wager to you that he gets the numbers and he goes, here are the numbers, here are the talking points, blah, blah. Again, it's the PSA podcast. It's not a third party person asking him the question. So it's, Pravda, state-sponsored television. So you're getting what you're getting. Now, one kind of a counterpoint that I would say to this, it's actually more cynical. It's even more cynical. Let me pose a question, though. The data is the data, and I agree with Simon's general conclusion. However, I would ask them pose the following question. As an SGC truther, as a man who is holding on, as the Saigon is being besieged, and the helicopter is being attacked, and you're hanging on, you're holding on.
My analogy.
I know. That's why I'm bringing it up. I remember these things. Callbacks are key, Dan. But as the person who's doing that, let me ask you a question though. And Simon posed this kind of question, and I'm gonna counter and I'm gonna kind of answer his question. If Ryan Hogue had given you the correct reason for it and said, "Hey, we took a bunch of people off the grading team and we put them over there. Oh, you guys are still grading with it? Fine. Hey, some of you guys come back over here, and we need to take care of a few more of these." And that's the reason why. Does that make you more or less inclined for you if you're sending your cards down? And regardless of whether it is him moving, shuffling graders back and forth, or it's them, basically shoveling things around, them fighting the flying spaghetti monster in the office, and that slows down production. The rationale, I would argue, no one actually cares. One of the things that Simon was kind of asking about is that he goes, well, why didn't he just tell us the truth? Because it doesn't, because number one, he may not know the truth. But even if he does know the truth, does the rationale change anything, Dan? If the next time you send in your stuff to SGC, you get your stuff back, they put some more graders on there, they get your stuff back within about 3 weeks or a month or 2 weeks or whatever it is, and you look at it, yep, this is graded reasonably accurately. Will you send me more cards after that? If that's what happens?
Right. That is, I'm continuing to send cards to SGC as
Yep.
long as that is happening. In fact, I have a sub at
Correct.
SGC right now.
Correct.
It was sent out in the middle of December. It was marked received by them on December 31st. Here we are on the 25th, and it's still in received, so it's not moving quickly. But if it comes back in a reasonable time, like let's say in the next few weeks,
Sure.
and all the grades are right, and nothing's cracked, there's no pieces of plastic inside, like the service is as the service has been, I will continue to send cards. But the question becomes, at what point am I sending a sub in knowing that they're lying to us, they don't have the graders, they don't have the quality there, and eventually they're going to get me. Eventually they're going to get me. There's going to be a sub that comes back with 4 cards that are misgraded and one that has a backwards label on it, or something. It's going to be done. And this has happened, as you know, to your friend Brandon. It's good. They're going to get me, but until they get me, I'm going to keep sending it. That's the answer to the question.
And that kind of answers Simon's question, though. He was saying, like, how are we going to why haven't more people? He kind of posed, I'm paraphrasing, but he kind of posed the question, why weren't more people kind of calling him out for this? And I heard the original podcast that he was citing, and speaking as one of the people, part of the reason why is, number one, I'm not sending in stuff to SGC, so it doesn't really impact me. But number two, the reason I asked you that question a moment ago is, and I'll pose this question to the comment section. And again, just listen to what I'm saying here. This is important. Collectors, small c, collectors, like collectors, big C, they have one thing in common. They care about their own bottom line. And as a collector, you may think, oh, what are you talking about? No, you have a bottom line too. If I'm paying for a service, Dan, what I care about, I don't care if they punch you in the face. My question is, what is my situation? If I go and send in my cards and I get my stuff back within a reasonable period of time that is acceptable to me, and I get the product that I am paying for, and it is acceptable to me, that's the bottom line. My question isn't what happened to that guy 5 feet over. My question is, did you take care of my business? When I gave you the money, did you give me what I paid for? And the quiet thing that no one talks about is that enough people say, yes, they did, which is why those numbers still exist. Everybody hates PSA. But they graded 1.6 million cards. So I guess not enough people hated them to make the number go down, because the only question is, what are you providing me? Are you giving me what I need? I don't care if you screw up their order. Don't screw up mine.
Well, let me say this, that I don't like surprises.
Yeah, sure.
So I want to know, I kind of want to know the future. I want to know where this is going. And if, let's say, in the next 2 weeks, 5 people that I know, or even that I don't know, that put up videos or whatever, have broken slabs and backwards labels and all the other nonsense that could happen in these things. There may be at some point that I'm like, this service is so snafu'd that I am not even going to send in anymore. That's a possibility also. So I want to know what the status is of this company that I'm relying on when I'm sending thousands of dollars worth of my possessions to them to do something to, which I trust they will do correctly. So I don't know. I think we do need to know whether that changes our behavior or not. Probably not, if they do the right thing, but maybe.
Yeah,
we'll see.
No, I don't disagree with that. All I'm saying, and just so that we're all on the same page here, all I'm saying is that if your friends don't have that experience, and they get their
Yeah.
cards back. And maybe they don't agree with all the grades, but it's within reason. You're looking at it like,
Yeah.
okay, I can kind of see what you're doing. And you get it within a reasonable period of time. Ryan Hogue could literally have said they were fighting a flying spaghetti monster in the office, and that's why we were slowed down for 3 months. And you're sitting there, that's ridiculous. You're literally full of crap. You're making stuff up. But at the same time, do I care as long as you grade my damn cards? If I send
Yeah.
you the cards and I pay you, get me my cards back, get them back to me in a reasonable period of time, and do it at least correct enough. I may not agree with all your grades, but at least be within reason. If you're within reason, you get the job done for me, Dan, then we're going to do business until you screw up my order, my business, and then we got a problem. And only then do we have a problem.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the hobby folks would be shocked how many times actually that is the reason why a lot of businesses in the hobby, you're like, but their service is terrible, but they're this and that. Enough people don't have that problem. That is why they're going to make money next month. It doesn't matter. Yeah. See, that's even more cynical, Dan. I took it even another level of cynicism down.
You've taken cynicism to a new level.
I do what I can. This is what I'm going to do. And actually, so this will actually play into my second one here. Lack of attention to detail. So that's a broad heading, but let me kind of elaborate. Let me explain. This could take on a lot of different ways. So I'll give you kind of a couple high level ones, but then I'll actually circle it back around to this business concept as well. One is people convincing themselves that a card is perfect when they're easily visible flaws. This is one of my favorite pet peeves when I'll watch like a PSA return or an SGC return or whatever. My favorite one of all time. And I wish I could cite the specific video. It's too many videos ago, so I can't find the specific one. But there was one where our good friend, Eric's personal goat, Geoff, had a PSA return. And here's the best part. Everybody he picks on PSA Dan, they got it right. They got it 100% right. They were correct. And Geoff was crying and whining to high heaven. He sent in a 1989 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. card, the rookie. And the thing is, he was looking at the card and he's like, oh, but the centering and the corners and the edges and everything's perfect. On the back of the 89 Upper Deck and all the Upper Decks for the most part, there's a hologram. The hologram is part of the card. The hologram must be in good condition. If you scratch the hologram or the hologram is damaged or part of the hologram is missing, that is damage on the back of the card. It's a surface, whatever you want to call it. It's damage. The point is it's there. It's part of the thing. So when he got the grade, I think it was like a 5 or whatever it was. Well, Dan, part of the hologram was missing. That is 100% accurate. Like it is correct. Like they got it right. But he's looking at the damn card. He's death staring the corners and the edges. The thing is, I'm really looking right at it. I can see it on the YouTube video. I can see it from space. And I'm looking at it and like, no, you sent in a card with a damaged hologram. Well, unfortunately, that means that your grade is going to go down. And by the way, they got it right. So we complain till the moon comes home. Oh man, they screwed me over. Like, no, actually they didn't. Sometimes they didn't. Sometimes you're just blind as a bat and you can't see. Attention to detail. But that's an example.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just understand. By the way, he's not the only one. He's just a fun example because obviously we can pick on him. But the thing is, Dan, here's your competing forces, okay? Your two favorites, Geoff and PSA. Here's the thing. PSA got it right. They were correct. They did the right thing.
Sometimes they get it right. That's happened to me with cards that I sent in and I get the grade back. I'm like, what? And then I find it. I find the thing that I missed. And I'll admit it. I do my SGC reveal videos. I don't think I've ever done this, but I know that plenty of other people have done it. And it's the thing where everybody else can see it except for you. When you put the card up on the camera and another Canadian, great guy, met him. You agree with me on this, Mike Canadian Cards, terrific guy, terrific channel, had one of these things where he did, I don't know why this got this and this. And then, but here's the thing. Somebody in the comments says, well, that Mantel card had a such and such. I don't remember what it was, and then Mike in the response says, you know what? I missed that. You guys are right. And so like, yeah, okay. But other people fight you on it forever. You're wrong. At least Mike was nice enough to admit it. But, a lot of times that's what happens on these videos. And sometimes I think it's two things. One is people see what they want to see, right? People, you have rose-colored glasses when you see your cards. You have rose-colored glasses for anything that you have, some stake in, so to speak. And the other thing is inexperience. Particularly when it comes to vintage cards, certain cards have, characteristics that you need to look for. Like you said, I mean, the Griffey isn't a vintage card, but that's one of those things that you need to know. There's some experience there that's necessary to understand why the particular card got a particular grade. In Mike's case, obviously, the man has tons of experience, so it wasn't that. I think it was just one of those, he missed it, right? He just missed it. Rose-colored glasses, maybe, or maybe just missed it. So it happens, but yeah, attention to detail. Yeah, we're lacking in it in the hobby, and that's a perfect example of it.
Yeah. And I'll give you two quick other examples kind of playing into that. They'll be quick just so we can move on to the next example here. But a second one that's a personal pet peeve of mine as well is asking questions when the answer is right in front of you. And this happens all the time. A lot of times people literally, it's like, I didn't try anything and I'm all about ideas. Like this is a common thing. People looking up comps. They're like, I can't find any comps on this. It's like I can find 16 comps of it within about 14 seconds. Like it's literally the fastest thing in the world. Oh, I don't know what this is. Google it. It's not to be rude, but sometimes it's like my expectation. And I did this, Dan, when I used to work in a call center, and part of it was that at times I would have to do some training. I would actually help out with the training at different times. My perspective and my angle on this was like, look, I can tell you exactly how to do this. I can take you step by step and literally walk you all the way down the primrose path. Or I can teach you how to look up parts of it. And then if you get completely lost or don't understand the logic behind it or whatever, I will be happy to sit down and explain it to you. But I want you to try. I want you to at least start down the path of trying. Because if I teach you how to find the information and then you read the information, you're more likely to learn it. You're less likely to have to ask me the exact same question again. It's the give a fish, feed him for a day, teach him how to fish, feed him for a lifetime. I'd rather teach you how to fish.
Yeah.
At least then
Yeah.
you're going to be further ahead. And a lot of people just want the fish handed to them and they want it cooked and they want to hand it on the plate already presented beautifully. And it's like, well, then you're not going to be in good shape the day that you don't have somebody to do that for you. Lack of attention to detail.
Yep. It exists in the hobby.
Yeah. And last one that kind of plays into what we were talking about a minute ago. I think a lot of people don't fully follow. And this actually plays into that conversation about the Ryan Hogue interview. Uh, the companies themselves lack attention to detail too. I've
Yeah.
talked about this at length. A lot of them, I don't know who these PR departments they have. They're terrible. The communication, terrible. The ability of them to get even simple, basic things. And I'm going to harp on this one real quick because it plays into recent stuff. ComC had a little mini controversy where people were questioning and they were having slowdowns. They were having this issue, that issue, and the other one. And they were having all these things going on and people were questioning it. And the rumor circulated, oh, well, these people were laid off and that's why, and that, ComC's in trouble and all that. Well, ComC continues to be around. Not only that, they're going to be at the next show, the next expo, which, by the way, I was surprised because usually they go to the real main expo, where there's going to be one in February. That's going to be kind of an additional one that they're doing a co-opting thing. And they're literally going to be there. And I'm sitting there like, huh. So I guess they have the money to send people to travel, Dan, because the office of ComC is out west. It's on the other side of the country. You don't hop on a plane and pay for that just for fun. So they have the ability to do that. Now, I do have the ability to have a conversation with people associated to it off the record. And we had a frank conversation about this. I was satisfied with the answers I was getting. But here's the thing. I go, it's not for me to, I said in that conversation, it's not for me to reveal this. Why aren't you guys doing it? Why don't you guys come out in front and just say, hey, these are our challenges we're having. We're working through them. We'll figure it out. You guys will see an improvement shortly. Well, Dan, not long after that, I had a shipping. And it was originally going to be in December, which, by the way, holidays, I didn't expect that. It got pushed all the way to March. Oh, man. And a lot of people were seeing that. It got pushed all the way to March, 3 months. Do you know when it actually shipped out?
January.
Before the middle of January, it was out the door. And by the way, it arrived. I sent it to my U.S. address, which I have one that I can use for different purposes. Dan, it is literally there. I have the scan. I have the image. It arrived. But again, nobody said anything. Oh, I think they're using the same PR department as Probstein because we continue to not hear anything about the data leak.
Under promise and overperform. I mean, that's
yeah, exactly. But do you see my point though? Like they're all using the same PR department. They're all using the same communications techniques. Again, Mr. Probstein continues to go out there and operate. And Dan, let me tell you, I see a tumbleweed rolling through, waiting to hear about the data leak. Nothing. Shilling allegations. Nada. But Probstein's got more stuff on eBay.
Yep.
Lack of attention to detail. We don't even get the little things right.
And I just saw it. I'm paying attention to this only because of Probstein, but that the New Jersey U.S. Attorney's Office continues to be a complete cluster. Like there's,
Mhm.
it's just,
Yep.
there was another article about it this week about how they're just completely disorganized and they have no idea what they're doing and everybody's leaving or coming back or whatever. And Probstein is laughing all the way to the eBay bank. So yeah, okay,
Yeah.
but he's for another episode.
Yeah, but now hopefully you guys get my point. Lack of attention to detail was very broad, and we could do 1,000 examples, but I wanted to give you a couple of specific ones just to think about. It's like this is a common thing around here, like all the
Yeah.
time, and it comes back to it. And I'll come back around. Like I said, I'll briefly reference it again later. But Dan, why don't you give us the next one? What's your next reason to be cynical?
My reason to be cynical number 3, going to be a short one. The Dallas Card Show, which I've never attended, but I know many people who do, and swear by it. And it's a great show, and it's a lot of successful show. And I guess there's a promotion company that runs it, and the promotion company that runs it is doing what you're never supposed to do in a business, which is expand into new markets, not knowing what you're doing, expanding your business without having a concept of expanding. And the Dallas Card Show is going to have a card show in New Jersey, believe it or not. It's at a place called, I think it's like the New Jersey Convention and Expo Center in Edison, New Jersey. And I can say that it's about a half an hour from where I live, a straight drive without traffic. And the New Jersey Convention Center in Edison has hosted card shows before. Nothing has stuck. It's people have tried to do card shows there and failed. There was a giant one there like maybe 2 years ago that just did a one-off and never came back. So I think that the Dallas Card Show is moving into New Jersey, trying to succeed where others have failed. And my reason to be cynical is that they don't realize that they're making a big mistake and overexpanding, and they're going to fail. And this card show is not going to be successful, and it's not going to come back. And I could be wrong, but my reason to be cynical is, people trying to expand, in particular the Dallas Card Show, without really knowing what they're doing.
Hashtag optimism. No notes from me on that one. I just enjoyed that. I'm happy to chime in where I'm going to. I will be observing with interest. So I'll say that I'll be observing with interest.
Oh, I should say that it is the week after the Strongsville show. So I will be back in New York. There's a possibility that I might go, but very, very unlikely because I can't do big card shows in consecutive weeks, and I probably will have work to catch up to and all that other stuff. But yeah, timing wise, maybe not so good either. So there you go.
That's fair. All right. So my third one that I'll include in here, again, interesting topic, and I'll include a link in the description for you to take a look at. There was a Boston Card Hunter video relating to Whatnot, kind of speculating about an IPO, talking about that. So I'm going to preface this by saying that I haven't independently verified anything that's going on there, but I will agree that Boston Card Hunter does have a lot of connections and has built up a Rolodex of different contacts that they've had. So they have been able to figure out some stuff in the past. So from that perspective, I will at least give it some credence. I will listen to it. I'll take it with a grain of salt. But I think the concept, though, and some of the stuff that's talked about, I think is worthwhile checking out if you're interested. Bottom line is that they're trying to rush their way to an IPO, basically, is kind of what he's reporting, which also plays into the second bullet point that I'm including in here. Is part of that conversation. He is alleging that Backyard Breaks is getting favorable rates, which we kind of assumed. Let's be honest. We kind of assumed that they've been getting a sweetheart deal for a while. But he's saying as low as 0%. Now, that's very interesting from a perspective of the platform. And then talking about how other dealers and people on the platform would obviously be very upset about this. It's like, hey, we're doing our stuff. And then not only are you on there, you're promoting them, you're working with them, you're doing all this stuff. And then they get basically the sweetest of sweetheart deals. Business is business. We know if you drive enough business, you get preferential rates. That's not unusual. That's standard in a lot of spaces, not just this one. But it does play back into a theme that we've already talked about in the past. Backyard Breaks. The not swell fellas of not swell fellas. Kind of our bottom rung of, scumminess in the space for various reasons and a variety of them. So it's just another example of Whatnot, which is already a cesspool and already has its own issues as a platform, higher cesspool per capita than a lot of other places. And then you tack in Backyard Breaks and already the relationship they have with them. And we're just rewarding bad actors even more so. Hey, congratulations. Here you go. And we're even going to reward you even more. We'll even give you preferential rates so you can make more money while being scummy. How's that for a cynical one to finish off on? A lighthearted conclusion on that.
0%.
Yeah. Let's reward
That's
you, Dan.
free, isn't that? Isn't that free?
Yeah, it's about as good a deal as you're going to get, Dan. The only better deal is if they pay you.
I will just add, I'm sure you've seen this, that Neo had a tweet about how he had a friend that went on to Whatnot, who I forget, it wasn't Backyard Breaks, but it was one of the other big ones, who said you would throw up if you saw how much of this product we had, and it was like Sapphire or something, and that people had been shut out of buying it, but apparently the breakers had so much that
Yeah.
they
I think
they
it was
didn't know what
Backyard
to do
Breaks.
with
The
it.
specific one you're talking about, I think it was Backyard Breaks.
Oh, it was Backyard. Okay,
I
all right.
believe, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Look, all
they're not
roads
only
lead to
getting
Backyard Breaks. All roads.
free ride on Whatnot, allocations that they can't even get rid of. It's like, what are these guys? What did they do to get this sweetheart deal across the board with everybody in the hobby? But whatever.
Whatever they're asked to do is kind of the honest answer. Is there is a place for the useful idiot inside of the thing. It's like as long as you do whatever you're told. Here's some allocation. Here's preferential rates, but just do as you're told, no matter what, and we'll all move on. And by the way, the hobby allows it. People pay
Yeah.
into it. The money still flows. And then you ask Dan why we can't have nice things. This is why we can't have nice things.
That's why we're called cynics, right? Because of this
Yeah.
kind of nonsense. So
Yeah.
there you go.
So tell us, Dan, why should we be cheerful?
Vintage trade night, right?
Shameless plug time. Let's go. Go ahead.
It's a
Just
little
go
bit of a
go.
plug, but not really. Not really, because I would say 98% of the people watching this are not in New York City and are not in a position to come to this event. But there will be a vintage trade night in New York City, my home. I could literally walk to this thing. I won't. I'll take a subway, but I could walk if I was
Well, at this
younger.
point, you might,
and more
depending if
surprised.
the snow hasn't melted by then, you might have to dig your way in.
I'll take a sled. Um, so by the very very ingenious mind of Sammy Thunder, he came up with an idea, and it's a great idea, and it's going to be implemented on February 15th. It is a vintage trade night at Bleecker Trading, which is the biggest card shop in New York City. They have two branches. The one we're doing at is in the West Village, about literally 2 blocks from where I used to live in my first apartment with my wife many years ago. But anyway, so it's a vintage trade night. It's on February 15th. It's I think 5 o'clock. I just feel like we're not making any money off of this. We are giving away free pizza because we have sponsors who are paying us money to buy the pizza with. Bleecker Trading doesn't make any money off it. There's no admission price. There's no table fee. They use it as promotion for their card stores, which is great. Get people in the doors, see what the place is about, do all this stuff. But we want to do it like we do the vintage trade night at Strongsville and at the National, which is that it's a social event as much as it's a card thing. And it's going to happen. And we've been working on it since, like, I don't know, not we, Sammy. I mean, I went to the original meeting. I've done some of the promotion, but very little. He's done 99% of this. And we're really excited about it. So is it a reason to be cheerful? Yeah, because somebody who is a collector had a great idea, put together something that's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm going to be part of it, and it's close to home, and it's right in my wheelhouse, and I'm cheerful about it. It's part of the reason I'm in the hobby is for stuff like this. So that's my reason to be cheerful, number one. So it was a promo. It was a bit of a using the platform to promote something that is going to be good, but it's also, I think I'm happy about it mostly.
Well, I appreciate the mostly at the end. That's the bonus on there. I'll include a link to the r/baseball cards _vintage Reddit post so that you can check that out there as well. So we'll include that. So I don't have any notes. So hopefully you guys have a good time. For the content gods, make sure that there's some content between all of y'all. There better be some content. It's got to be part of the deal.
Oh, there will be.
It's very important.
Yeah.
All right. So let me get into my first one here. So for me, playing off of what I was talking about a little earlier, a lot of that, the lull and kind of the static nature of it, again, as much YouTube as I watch, it has given me a lot of an excuse to shift over to the other hobbies and content for entertainment, which isn't a bad thing, by the way. It's nice to have variety. It's nice to have a little bit of different things. On the Friday Live, I was showing I pulled out a gigantic reference book on American gold coins and everything. Like, I have a reference library of different hobbies that I have. A lot of times people don't get to see it, so it's kind of fun when I get to bring one of those things. Like, I have a reference library of different stuff because I dabble in different things. I'm interested in different things. So it's not that I don't like learning. It's that sometimes I like learning beyond the scope of this. I have had lots of time to learn a lot of stuff about the sports card hobby and in terms of the history of it and vintage cars, a lot of that stuff. I know a lot of that stuff from back in the day because I was looking into it, reading articles about that all back then. It was part of what we were doing. Dan referenced an article from Old Baseball that actually was part of a group that I was a part of back then. But a lot of those guys wrote articles, many articles, plural, that were published in different places. And there's a wealth of information on there. That's one of a variety of places. So it's one of those things where like the information's out there, but you got to go looking for it. And that's not a bad thing. But then if you learn on, by the way, and if you want to go down the rabbit hole, it's fantastic. So you're more than welcome to it. But for me, it's been an excuse to go into it. The example, though, one of the ones that we were talking about before I hit record, and I already made reference to it on this episode, is the bar rescue thing. Now, actually, the bar rescue thing, funny enough, also kind of gives us a good lesson that kind of plays into the cynicism section earlier, which is bar rescue is a reality show. Reality shows are entertainment. Treat them as entertainment, and then you'll have a good time. Don't treat them as being too serious or realistic. But, and Dan had a good story kind of semi-related to that. But what's funny, though, is there are lessons to be learned, though, because if you actually have watched those episodes, most reality television falls into a formula. So stick with me on this because I'll explain what I'm getting at here. They fall into a formula. They pretty much have their story beats. You know, they kind of showcase it, and the bar will be the most horrific place in the world, and there'll be this issue, that. But the issues tend to fall into certain specific categories, Dan. And a lot of times, like there's health violations and, you know, a dirty kitchen, a dirty bar, this, and there's certain tropes that happen over and over and over again. But almost every time, if you have a dirty kitchen or you have a dirty bar, and that's one of your issues, that's attention to detail. That's a callback to this episode. We're literally talking about it. The management in this case is the one who represents the lack of attention to detail, the lack of holding to standards. But stop me if this sounds familiar. Imagine a business that's may or may not still manage to make money, but then you look and say, like, how did you guys miss this? This seems like a very easy problem to solve, but you didn't do it. Neglect, not taking advantage of the opportunities to fix the little things, which in turn create bigger things and snowballs, and you run into it. I could literally name half the hobby companies, and I could point to these things. These problems are not unique to bars. They're not unique to bar rescue. Yes, it can play into the hobby. And a lot of these companies make money in spite of themselves, Dan. It's fantastic. They manage somehow, like, you sit there and go, like, how do these guys even make money? They can't even get this right. Dan, if you run a bar or a restaurant, isn't standard cleanliness to keep you from getting shut down by the health inspector, doesn't that seem like a very basic, like, shouldn't that be somewhere near the top of the list of your to-dos on a regular basis?
It is. Yeah.
If we can't even get the basics right, how do we expect the rest of it to work? Card companies. If we can't get the basics right, how do we expect the rest of it to work? See, Dan, it all comes together. It all comes full. I defy you, Dan, to find anyone else who can get bar rescue into a sports card conversation and make it work.
I really admire the ingenuity. I have a relationship with bar rescue, having watched it. I haven't watched it in several years, but bar rescue, one of the tropes is that employee theft is always part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about bar rescue is that it's not just employee theft. It's not just people taking dollar bills out of the register and putting in their back pocket. It's always like the bartender has some ingenuity to figure out a new way to scam the bar, and it has to do with, like, you know, using the point of sale system, and, you know, giving this, and they're very good about sort of showing bartenders different ways to rip off their employers in real life. So it's like the internet thing about how to make a bomb, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So you see, from Dan's laughter, you all see why. It's like, Carlos, that sounds like it should be in the cynical. No, I'm being highly entertained. I am learning valuable lessons, enjoying myself, and I'm having a good time. Take it as entertainment,
you know,
and you'll be fine.
The YouTube algorithm can provide some entertainment sometimes. So occasionally I will get stuff, you know, sent to me from all the card stuff I watch, and so I'll view, you know, various different other types of hobbies and or weird, you know, historical stuff or whatever. But the one great thing that came out of that, you know, tangent on the Friday was that Dakota had stepped away for a while and came back and said, "Oh my God, what has become of this show that books about gold coins are now being shown?"
And I counter with that. That is exactly what the Friday show is about, Dan. I was in my glory. I was in my glory. This is what I do. This is what I bring to the table, Dan. I talked about earlier, break the formula. My formula on Friday is there is no formula. I dare you to find a formula.
You stepped away and all things went to hell. So,
yeah. So what's your second reason to be cheerful?
Second reason to be cheerful. I called it enterprising individuals who rolled with the punches on the Strongsville switch and reestablished the events in the new location. So what that means is this. I took last week's one of my reasons to be cynical, which was the whole Strongsville switcheroo on us, and turned it into a reason to be cheerful because some enterprising individuals who I am adjacent to went ahead and planned out, found new ways to do the events that are going to take place on Friday and Saturday night, contracted with the people, found the rooms, did all the logistics of it, and got it done. And then made their video saying, this is what we're going to do, everybody. This is where you have to be, when you have to be, and got it done. And you throw people a curveball, and sometimes they hit it for a home run, and the people that I'm talking about did hit it for a home run. So I'm cheerful that there are still people in the hobby who are enterprising, even with the hobby, hitting them in the backside. The hobby is still there. I'm sorry, these people are still there to take lemons and turn it into lemonade, so to speak. And so my reason to be cheerful is that there are still enterprising individuals who can make the hobby better. There you go.
Mm-hmm. All right, I think that's fair. I think that's reasonable. So glad you mentioned Dakota a moment ago because that plays into my second point that I was going to make. So the emphasis. So I call it emphasis on buying what you want, which has kind of been out there. It's a general theme, it's whatever. But I want to specifically shout out the video itself, and I'll put a link in the description to it. So Dakota, Sports Card Anonymous on YouTube, has made his triumphant comeback. So he's been focusing more on kind of a talking head, talking through hobby philosophy. That's kind of been where his focus has been in the new videos. And I think it's been received very well. So we obviously, I've mentioned already, I'm on Discord with him. We have conversations about it. And we talk about some of these philosophical things from time to time. And he's incorporated some of the conversations us as the general we have had about this into some of these videos. The most recent video is called Mint Condition is Overrated. Now, to explain the concept of it, like in the vintage, we can talk about I appeal, my appeal, own appeal, all the appeals. We got all the appeals going on. But the concept is it applies across the board, though. It doesn't really matter, new or old, whatever the case may be. It kind of plays into it. And the thing is, with a lot of it, and to me, I'll expand on one of the points he was making, is that a lot of people fixate so much on the condition. So this could be new or old. It doesn't matter. They fixate so much on the condition that they kind of forget that sometimes it's like, well, do you like the card? Do you want the card? Is that part of the conversation? You're collecting, so do you want the card? Is that part of the deal? Now, for me, one thing I'll expand on it, and I'll leave a link to it in the description, like I mentioned, so you can check out the video and get kind of his walkthrough in terms of what he's trying to do. But one of the things is he can create opportunities. If you don't really worry about that, it isn't something you care about, you can kind of take advantage of it and playing into it. So I actually brought a card here as kind of as an example of kind of this point. And this is a modern card. So you would think for the most part, conditions should be pretty high. Well, sometimes it's not, but there's good reasons for it, but it can still play into what you're trying to do. So let me show here. So this right here is a football card, and it's from Exquisite from the early 2000s. And it's part of the Brett Favre collection. And what we've got here is 4 autographs. And we got Drew Brees and Brett Favre, but we also have Mark Bulger, and I believe who was the last person here, and it was Matt Leinart. So we got 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and then 2 guys that, at the time it probably made sense, but since then not so much. The point is, this is a PSA 7. So, like from a modern card standpoint, that's terrible. 7. Oh my goodness. I also have one from that is also from Exquisite, and it is a Favre patch autograph, and it's a 6. And because of the thicker card, sometimes the edges get damaged and such. But Dan, I got that 6 for a fraction of what that. If I cracked that card out of the holder right now and I just sold it raw, it would get multiples of what I paid for it. So as a collector, that's an opportunity. This one's out of 10. That other card was also out of 10. Those are very tough cards to do. If you want to get it, and it's not a 6 or a 7, that other card is well into 4 figures. I didn't pay well into 4 figures because people saw the holder. Yeah. And they're like, oh man, modern card and 6. I don't want that. Well, I do. I'll take it. I'll take it at a hefty discount because it's for my collection. I just want the card. I don't care.
Yeah.
And it's still in the holder. I don't see any reason to remove it. Like it's sitting perfectly fine inside the holder. That's my point. Okay, the point is, so he's talking about mint condition being overrated in the sense that if you could just be happy with having a nice card, and not worrying about it being the highest possible grade. Obviously, they're thinking about 10 when you're talking about modern, but look, it applies to vintage too. If you absolutely don't need the highest possible grade, if you're not trying to chase the set registry, if that's not your main concern, and you just want a nice looking card that fits in with the rest of your set or whatever the case may be, you could
Yeah.
do tremendously well. You could get a nice card for the money and do. And by the way, modern and I just showed you a modern card, and it still applies. The concept still applies.
Well, before Dakota had that video, which I have watched and which is, as you said, quite excellent, I had a IG post about this card, this
Mhm.
1972 Bobby Mercer,
Yep.
which was graded. If you look at the label, is probably graded within the last few months, and I don't see a flaw, but it's a 6. So I said on my IG post, I said, the way PSA is now, the number is irrelevant. This card is staying in my collection. It's, to me, a gem, and I paid a fraction of, if I had this high number 72 in an 8 or a 9 would be, 4 digits. I paid $45. So, like, yeah,
Yep.
it's what's overrated is the word overrated is perfect because it's more money than you need to spend for something which you don't need. And so, yeah, I reasons to be cheerful that people are doing content like that and saying smart stuff that applies to pretty much everybody's collection. So there you go.
Absolutely. So I do recommend that people check out the video for yourself. And again, you get the general
Hmm.
gist of what we're talking about, but check it out for yourself and kind of get his thought process behind it. And I think he's been making good use out of those videos to talk through some of these ideas. I like the think pieces. I already talked about that previously. I enjoy when someone is at least thinking about these things and kind of articulating that. So give us your third reason to be cheerful.
Well, last week, and this may be the theme moving forward, my third reason to be cheerful is a person. Last
Mhm.
week it was the great Bob Boozle. This week it is the great Mike Hamm. And I actually hinted at this last week.
Mhm.
Uh, I am amused by the existence of Mike Hamm. And what I mean by that is this.
Oh, could you just
Here's a
stop there?
guy
Because out of context, I think the concept of being amused by the existence of Mike Hamm is
that
fantastic.
he in a good way, I am amazed that he is able to just be a person who is in so many different is friends with so many different groups of people, some of whom can't stand each other.
Mhm.
Somehow or another, he's one of these guys who gets along with everyone. And I was watching his video today. He went to another card show, so it's not just that he's gets along with everybody, but he's got good content. He went to a card show, and his card show videos are some of the best card show videos because he narrates as he goes along, and he's got things to say about all these different kinds of cards, and he knows what they are, and he knows prices, and he knows condition, and he knows, he has like this sort of stream of consciousness going while he's recording the video that is terrific. And then he comes out and he tells you where the shows are going to be, when they're, what they're about. This one's a new one. This one's continuing. It's like if you're in South Florida and you need information about card shows, this is an indispensable person to watch. But, he also has the car videos where he talks about, concepts in the hobby, news in the hobby, and stuff like that. And of course, he is terrific on the Friday nights, especially when he and Bobby go at it. So I just wanted to say one of my reasons to be cheerful is the existence of Mike Hamm in the hobby, which is kind of a unicorn in a way, because like he gets along with all these people that that can't stand each other. So there you go.
Ham exemplifying being a man of peace. Florida man himself, Mike Ham, included in there. I think that's fair. Last one that I'm going to include in here is storytelling videos. I already talked about this. TJ Magazo is one of my favorites who does a tremendous job with this, but also I caught the last video for Hammer 44. And again, link in the
Yes.
description to that one. And I thought that was a good example of that as well. A good example of the storytelling element being incorporated into it and then being put into the video. I want to get this out to people and get, because that stands out from the crowd because it's a little bit more work. It really is. But when you can incorporate the story, maybe it's a personal story, maybe it's just a general story. And sometimes it's fun if you can incorporate a personal story because that's kind of great. And then it gives a little bit of difference because otherwise the cards are the cards. And when I say that, it's like that may sound like a cynical statement. No, it's not. The cards are the cards. You can inject meaning into it. You talk about how sometimes you like to dig deep into the players. There's nothing wrong with that. That's perfect.
Yep.
But
Yep.
you are injecting the meaning into it Because at the surface level, if you decide not to do that or it doesn't interest you to do that, well, then the card is the card is the card. It is what it is. It can be part of a set, it can be part of the, but if there's a little bit of added meaning to it, there's some intrigue to it, that's a little bit of fun. I've talked about before, like given the story. There's a there's two, I have two 54 Bowman Mantels in my collection. One of them is one that I got later on, is kind of an upgrade to the original. But the original one I got, it was funny because in one of the Friday Lives we were talking about it, and Eric was mortified that once again, 7 degrees of Carlos plays into this. One of the guys who comes into the shop on a semi-regular basis is one of the guys that I knew 30 years ago, who I actually was in part of that collecting group that I've already made reference to. And what's funny is I have been to the Massachusetts a couple of times with the family years ago, and I actually visited, and I got a chance to see his collection. I got a chance to see the card closet, which actually had, now he had done over the years, I'm just giving a high level overview here, but over the years he had built a lot of the sets, a lot of the regular sets you're looking at. So that, Dan, was the first time that I got to handle the 52 Tops Mantel, because he had the complete set. He had the complete Tops and Bowman run. He had the complete, and the closet was full of it. It was filled to the brim, and he had vending cases and boxes and things like that of like 80s Tops all over the place. Well, when the Mark McGwire card took off during the home run chase, he had like a case of it. It was wild. So I was sitting there like, and I remember talking to him at the time, and I go, are you going to sell any of that? Because honestly, they're going for crazy amounts. Like, people are losing their minds. But he had been collecting it over years and years and years and years. And he was working a very modest kind of normal kind of job, but he had just accumulated and built over the time, and then sold some stuff, bought some stuff, and he built this collection that today would just be flat out more difficult. Someone doing that job cannot build this collection today. You can't just walk down the street and I can get your 52 Tops Mantel anytime you want. I'll pick up the phone and I can talk, and I don't even need to know some of the dealers you guys deal with in the national. I can get you one. I can get you one in Canada if I want to. Like, there's enough of them out there. But the point is, at the time he bought it, it was still more attainable. It was reachable for the everyman. It's not really reachable for the everyman anymore. So building the complete run like that, he had it, and Dan, he had it 25 years ago. It was already done. So at this point, he was building second sets. He did the 56 Top, he did the white backs and the gray backs, just to make it more interesting. because the set was done, but technically you don't need to care. He wanted to have one set of both. So that you got two 56 Mantels, and it's like the whole 9 and all that. Is like 56 always been my favorite set. My point that I'm getting at is that it is fun when you can incorporate an element to it. Circling back around to finish my point, as part of that visit, he sold me the first Mickey Mantle I ever bought for the princely sum of $35. It was the 54 Bowman. But that 54 Bowman looks like it was run over by a lawnmower. But it's never going to leave the collection because it's the first one that I ever bought. And so it's still there. Now, I will have another copy, an upgraded copy that will be with the rest of the set, but the other one's still there. The other one's there as part of it. That's the point. So that 54 Bowman Mantle, otherwise a really crummy looking copy, has at least a backstory to it. There is a reason why it's in the collection. It's not just randomly there. That's the thing that adds it's the little extra spice on top that makes the story a little bit more interesting if you can incorporate that element of it. And I think Hammer 44 did a great job with that on that video.
Yep. I have not watched it. I am subscribed to him. It shows up. It's got a nice thumbnail. It's not an AI thumbnail, I think. I think it is. It's not an AI thumbnail. And I am going to watch it. In fact, it's going to be the first thing I do after I get off this video.
There we go. So I'll leave a link in the description to that one for you guys. If you want to check that out, by all means, feel free to show some love for it. But again, I appreciate when someone takes the time to do that, because I think that's having some of that in there makes it more interesting. Because like I said, even as I go through all the hours of YouTube I watch, I appreciate at this point anyone who is able to bring a little extra something to the table. It makes it more interesting. It breaks up the monotony. And I'm not saying that disrespectfully. It's just once you see certain things enough times, it's hard for me to get excited about it because it just feels same. When someone can bring something in there, and that's what we were talking about on the Friday Live as well. Keith, the Lonely Basin, was talking about, how a lot of his videos he does kind of follow a certain formula. But then I also kind of said, I made sure to make note, Keith has a distinct style. So if you're bringing a style to it, I do enjoy it. If it's a style we can emulate and people can mimic and have some fun with it, which they have, then you've got something. You might be taking the standard format, Dan, but it might be as little as injecting a little personality into it. And there you go. You've at least added something to it.
This was what I had said before, which I thought was going to get me in trouble. And Keith, I've become friends with him, so I'm not, maybe I'm not the most objective on this, but yes, adding personality, being camera friendly, being humorous, having stories, turning a card showing cards video can be boring. but it can
Mhm.
also be fun to watch if the person doing it has the kind of personality that you like to hang out with. So, yeah, that was what I was saying, is that we don't have as many people like that as maybe we should. And some people who make videos, they're not doing it to get views. They're not doing it because they have the greatest personality. They're just doing it because they feel like doing it. And there's, more power to them.
Absolutely. So that covers 3 and 3. Now,
Yep,
to
that's
conclude,
it.
we would be remiss if we did not talk about speaking about the most prestigious thing in the hobby that is not the Mantel Awards, because the Mantel Awards, as you well see, is the highest tier, but very close. 1A. 1A is the YouTube Sports Card Hall of Fame, Dan. You see, you questioned me. I said we would have time to talk about it before it happened. It hasn't happened yet. So there you go. We got it. We're in.
I'm writing down my list. I have to do. I have to watch the Hammer 44, which I said I was going to do, but I also have to find out what Trove is.
It's important. Yeah, it's critically important. Finding out Trove is going to be key to the next thing. So yes, we've got the YouTube Sports Card Hall of Fame thing coming up at some point. I honestly think it's going to be early February. I feel like that's the direction they're going to, which is fine, whatever. So look, to precursor to this, I think most of the people watching my channel at this point already know my feelings on this. It became a popularity contest very quickly, which is a plus and a minus. The problem is at a certain point, so I want to give up the whole background and context here, and then we can quickly have a back and forth before we finish the episode. But the reality is, it became something that the concept itself was to create an avenue to be able to shout out channels that maybe are a little off the beaten path, maybe people haven't seen as much and whatever. That was the original concept, or at least the way that Mike kind of tried to present it. It was like a response videos kind of thing. The problem is, as soon as you interject Hall of Fame, and now you're kind of like, creating a strata, it's messed up. Because as soon as you do that, well, we don't have criteria then. There is no criteria, and you can put what you did is you put restrictions. You didn't put criteria. So okay, so I'm going to vote for all my friends. is what's going to happen, and that's what happened. And when that happens, at a certain point, it's like, okay, look, I can go through this list of videos and I can point out to you, like, these folks are nice people. Do you want me to show you the videos? Because I can show you the videos, and you're gonna be like, okay. What it means is that people like you, which is fine, but I'm saying that's not really a criteria for a Hall of Fame. And that was always the problem that they ran into, and they created it as of their own creation.
So, my video last year was one of the first ones to come up after they announced it, because I was ready for it and I wanted it to be one of the first ones. So I wanted to influence the voting, and I actually had criteria in my video. I invented my own criteria. It was called the 4 C's. I have to go back and watch my video and figure out what the C's were. It was like content, community, collection, and I forget what the fourth one was. But I'll go back and watch my video and remember it. And I'm going to do it again. So I want to do some criteria, and it's an easy video to make because all I do is screenshot the front page of the video of the channel, and then I talk about the channel, and I do 10 of them. And I think I can and I want to do it the first day it comes out. And I feel like I have something to say, and I feel like people will take it seriously, and that may influence the votes. So my first vote, the first channel that I vote for, by the way, I should mention that everybody who I voted for last year got into the Hall of Fame. And 2 of those people were on a show that I did of 4 collectors about 2 weeks before the voting, talking about their Hall of Fame candidacy. And those people one of them got the most votes ever, and the other one got in first ballot. And so I feel like I influenced the voting. So this year, my first vote is going to be for somebody who deserves it, and also has somebody who's adjacent who doesn't deserve it. But, we're going to get that, and hopefully that will have some influencer on the voting.
Indeed. All I have to say is one man kazoo parade. I want you all to remember, one man kazoo parade. We will make him do it. It will be recorded. The content gods will be appeased. Do your civic duty. And I told people, listen, Dan, generally speaking, I've explained previously in the past, I said, don't vote for this channel. I'm going 180 degrees. Eric convinced me with his pleas for adjacency. And I got to tell you,
told me that last year. I didn't vote for you last year because you said don't vote
because
for me.
because honestly, because look, to be clear, so that we don't so we don't bury the lead here. I still think it's stupid. I think the whole thing is idiotic. However, for the content gods, I'm in. Let's do it. So as far as I'm concerned, We need to rig this, people. I need a bunch of you to vote for one person. Just vote for my channel, and that's it. Ignore everyone else. Everyone else sucks. Just vote for this channel and be done with it. It's because as soon as I get in, then you can vote for all the vintage channels you want because you're going to. I know you're going to do it. So fine, do it next year. Next year, for this year, just put in my channel so that we can have adjacency, a one-man kazoo parade, a terrible speech that I'm going to basically make fun of, and then we can all get back to regularly scheduled program next year, and then you can vote for as many vintage channels as you want. Focus, people. Focus.
The things that you can do with that kazoo parade,
it's incredible. Like
the video editing, but the jokes that will come out of it, it's content that will last forever, at least for a year.
Yeah. So, like, the point that I'm saying is, like, don't do this for me. Do this for the content gods. This is all I ask. Just saying. We will shamelessly show ourselves to try to make this happen, because it's only going to get more difficult from here. Because as more channels hit the criteria, it's just going to be the same channels being. I'm just saying, guys, creativity. Speaking of lulls, can we try to just get off brand for one cycle here? Just for one cycle? You're going to have plenty of chances, okay? Good Lord.
Well, I'm not eligible till next year. So next year, when we're on episode 100, we can talk about my candidacy.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like right now, look, I got to stuff the ballot box while I can, because this isn't getting easier. Every year it gets a little bit harder. It's like, it's the same stuff. Like I said, they changed the rules the year that we were on the bubble. So I'm sitting there like, we denied, Dan. Denied.
This is going to be a tough year. There's quite a few first-time ballot people who are probably going to get a lot of votes. So it's going to be a tough year.
Absolutely. So we'll discuss that more on the next upcoming episode. So episode 2, hopefully you guys enjoyed. We were a little bit more we had more to elaborate on. There was some fun stuff in there. So we'll kind of see. Yeah. We're going to continue to play with format. So just to finish off some reminders on all the things. So since it's on YouTube, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you could. Dan's information will also be included in the description, so we'll include it as part of it as well. This series is going to bounce back and forth between our channels. I do have a playlist where I'm going to be including all the episodes. So for simplicity, if it helps you, if it makes it easier for you, you can always, I believe you can add the playlist to save playlist if you wish. It's like subscribing, but to a playlist if you want to. And then that allows you to quickly be able to go through, and you can go through the episodes chronologically. So you're more than welcome to use that resource. It is available to you. Otherwise, you'll see that we'll kind of promote the videos between the two channels as we bounce it back and forth. Love to get any questions if you have any of them for future ones. I'll try to really push that and promote it. I would love to have that be part of it. And also, if you have any ideas or thoughts on segments or everything, the cynical and cheerful lists are always fun to have, but we can always incorporate other elements into it if there's anything that we feel is appropriate or fun. Or tell us your favorite bar rescue episode. I'm just saying, right now I'm in the middle of binging it. It's fantastic. It's glorious. It's good. If you guys want me to watch more of your sports card videos, well, then step up your game, okay? You can go to a basement. If you want to be lonely, you can do that, but come up with something. I don't care. Wear a funny hat. Give me something. Work with me here, people. Work with me. And also vote for this channel, YouTube Sports Card Hall of Fame, whenever they come up with it. It hasn't been announced yet. It'll happen soon, at some point. So that's it. So Dan, I think that's good. So for myself, Dan's Vintage Baseball, episode 2. Somewhere out there, SGC Pete is seething in jealousy. He never made it to episode 2. That boy tried. He didn't get there, but we did. Anyway, that's it for this one. Thank you very much. Catch you in the next one.